Welcome back to the HTML Basics lecture. What we're going to do here is learn just the absolute basics of an HTML file and how it's structured. We'll create probably the simplest HTML skeleton code possible, see what it looks like in our browser, and in the next lecture, we'll go much deeper into the actual tags that an HTML file holds. For right now, let's head over to our text editor and explore how to create a basic HTML file. Okay, here I am at my Atom text editor. First thing we need to do is actually create a new file. So I will say File, New File, and when you first create a new file, it's just untitled and actually contains no file type. So let's save this as an HTML file. I'll say File, Save As, and on my desktop, I have a folder called Flask_examples, so I'm just going to save it here. Feel free to save it wherever you prefer on your actual desktop or computer, C drive, downloads, anywhere's fine. So I will call this basic and then .html. So it's important to have that extension .html. That way Atom knows that it's actually working with an HTML file and can perform syntax highlighting and autocomplete as necessary. So I will save this now as basic.html. And now that it's an HTML file, Atom actually comes with a built-in autocomplete for basic things like HTML. And if you begin typing HTML, you'll notice that you get this little pop-up HTML. Once that happens, you can hit enter here and it will autofill the actual doc skeleton for an HTML file. What we're going to do here now is actually describe the main components, and then we'll see what it looks like in the browser. This very first line, this doc type tag, that basically tells your browser as it reads in the file, hey, this is an HTML file, you should read the tags in a certain way. And all the modern browsers understand that one line, this first line, to say that. And this should always be the first line of any HTML file. Next, we basically have a series of tags, and tags are denoted by these open and closing tags marks, or sometimes they're also called greater than or less than marks. And we have an HTML tag, and then we have an HTML closing tag. Usually you have an open tag and a closing tag. You'll notice that the closing tag starts with a /. Keep in mind, not every single tag needs to be closed. We'll discuss that in more detail later on. Now we have two main components of an HTML file. We have this head component and this body component. This head component mainly contains the metadata. And the metadata are going to be things like linking to your CSS files later on, linking to your JavaScript files, and things of that nature. So not a whole lot of code is going to go in the head. Instead, most of your HTML code is going to go inside the body. You'll notice when we actually called HTML, we got this title open tag and title close tag. This title tag is what appears inside of the tab inside your browser. So let's go ahead and check it out. I'm going to type out, this is the title. And I need to save this, so Control S or Command S. Atom usually has an indicator whether it's been saved or not. And then what I'm going to do is open this file inside of my browser. You'll notice as you hover over your actual file, you should get a full file path there. Alternatively, what you can do is open up the side panel and then find your actual file. Here I can find it as basic.html. Right click on it and then select copy full path. And then once you have that full path copied to your clipboard, go ahead and provide it to your browser. So I'm going to bring in my browser here. So notice in my browser right now, I just copied and pasted that full path. So I'm directly pointing my browser, this is Chrome Internet Browser, to my local HTML file. And notice what it says in the tab. It says this is the title. So that corresponds with the title that was shown here inside of this HTML file. Okay, and then later on, we're going to discuss how we can add things to the body. Let's just go ahead and do a very simple script, or a very simple phrase. Essentially just add some text. So we're going to add some text here in the body. Notice how it's not tagged in any way. That's okay for now. I'm going to save those changes, and then back in my browser, if I hit refresh, I now get to see add some text. So that's the very basics of an HTML file. Again, it has a heading component and then a body component. The head component, that's going to contain metadata and links. We'll discuss that in more detail later on. And then the body, that's basically going to contain the actual elements you see on the page. Things like forms, headers, styles, etc. Okay, so we have head, body, and our basic HTML. And next up, we're going to discuss basic HTML tags. We'll see you at the next lecture.